Okay, so I kind of want to paint a picture for you. So let's say that you played a show and it was a sick show. It was like the sickest show ever. And you got video taken and it came out great and everything like that, but you wanted photos as well. But all you have is photos that your friend took, or people that went to the show they took, and they were all just cell phone photos. Well, that happened to me. My band Retina had like a really sick show. We actually had a few sick shows. We only had 2 shows and they were both really awesome. But some of you may know that I do video and photography as well as music stuff. And so we had great video because I had 2 cameras that I handed to both of my friends. But I didn't have any photographer there or anything like that. The first show we did, but the second show, which was like the biggest, we didn't. And all I had was photos that my sister took and a few photos that I got from some friends. Now, when I was looking through these photos, I was really surprised because I was like, man, these are actually really awesome. I know the first thing that you think is, well, they're from a phone, so they're not going to be that great. And for me, I think since I've been doing photography for a while, I can kind of see potential in a photo just by the composition. What I wanted to show you today was how, if this happens to you, which I'm sure it does, it happens to all of us, if you just want content to put out, which I think that we should all be doing all the time as much as we can. I have some photos that my sister gave me from the show. She gave me like a whole iCloud folder and I picked my favorite ones. And I went to a show last week. It was Letter 9, and they gave me the opportunity to shoot their show and shoot some video. But I also captured some photos with my phone for this demonstration. If we take a look at my phone here, I'm using Lightroom Mobile. This is a free app. They have a free version and a paid version. Paid version gives you a little bit more capabilities and a little bit more customization. And if you have Creative Cloud, then you get Lightroom Mobile. So if we take a look at these photos, I mean, they're pretty good. Like, they're not bad at all. Like, this one's a little blurry, but there's still some potential there. Same thing with this one. Like, I think the thing that I like the most about this one is the composition. Like, I'm not gonna touch it much. Now this one here, it's there, like it's there, but in my opinion, it can use a little bit adjusting with the composition. I don't know if you know the rule of thirds. I think that's something that everyone should know about because we all have cameras on our phones, and we should always be trying to take the best photo that we can, even if it's just of like something, like if it was of my card. You put it down, you can just go straight on, but you could also, get a little bit artistic. But this is one way that I would do it, is I would crop and use the rule of thirds to kind of get a good... I would also mess with the aspect ratio, just to kind of get it a little bit closer. So that looks not bad. So then the next thing that I would do to enhance my photos, because these photos look great, but you can always enhance it with color or just any sort of corrections. And so what I usually do is I will start with a preset. And now I made my own presets just because I do this all the time. I found myself making similar adjustments. And so I'll go through and just choose some presets here. And I love Duotone so much. It really just adds a ton to the photo. Like, this is already kind of a duotone type of photo, as you can see. It's got the yellows and the red in here. So you already know that that's gonna work. Now I have these fader ones here. This one actually looks really cool. There's something about a fade that gives it like a lot more authenticity. Like, it looks like a legit photo, But let me go through and find like another one. Like this one. I can't believe that this is taken with a phone. This is insane. Now I could mess with the aspect ratio just to kind of give it a little bit more, a little bit less of that naked space there. That's just kind of, you don't really need it. Then I'll go to my presets and let's see what a fade looks like. Fade looks nice. I kind of like the red fade. The red fade looks really awesome. Now with all these presets, I make these presets and then I'll go in and tweak them. So if we go over to light, we can kind of mess with the contrast. It looks like it might be a lot better with that higher contrast. I already have the highlights really low, so it actually looks pretty good. This is the shadow, and this is how I edit everything. I'll kind of just see what minimal and maximum looks like, and I kind of like how moody it looks. White, same thing. Now you got to think too. It's going to be on a thumbnail, so how is it going to look on the thumbnail? Well, these are all things you got to think about. So, oh, we just made it a completely different color. That's awesome. Just by going to the temperature slider, this thing can unlock a ton too. Like that one, if we hold down, we can see before, after. So let's go through another one. So let's go through these because the marquee up in Denver is really dark. They added some new lights, but it's really dark there. And so your camera really has to work. And the other biggest piece of advice that I have is your angles too. Like if you're the one taking these photos, like you go to a show and you're really close like this, get down low so they look really like powerful, you know? If you're kind of just, and you just take the shot, it's gonna be straight on and it's gonna look nice and clear because, you know, the phone cameras are sick. But you want them to look powerful, you know, and usually when you go to, I mean, quote unquote, a normal venue, the stage is a lot higher, so you're having to kind of do one of these, but it makes them look a lot more powerful, you know? So I have this one here. We'll go to the presets and we'll see what they look like. Oh, that one already looks cool. Duotone, these are good fail-safe. Like if you have something with a lot of noise and it's just like, you're like, I don't know if that's any good, like either go to the duotones or I have a mono version. Like they look awesome. For me, I love Duotone though. I named this one Death Brand just because it's inspired by, if any of you guys play video games, Skyrim. There's a piece of armor in there that's like the most powerful in the game, so I've heard. And those are the colors. And as soon as I saw those colors, I was like, ooh, I need to make a preset like that. And so here it is. So here's one photo that I took with my phone. This is of the band. They're called Orbiter. And man, so much energy, so much movement, especially in a dark spot like the marquee. Blurry photos. And when I was taking photos with my phone, I wasn't just kind of taking a photo here and there, just kind of one and done, you know? I was just tapping. Sometimes I was utilizing the burst mode on the iPhones. You just hold down the shutter and it'll just keep taking photos. Then you can go through and choose your favorite one. I believe that's what I did here. But also you can notice that there's these like streaks in here. Now the streaks is a technique, and I'm smiling when I say technique. It's because I'll show you another one. Look at these streaks, they look so awesome. A lot of times this happens when we're like taking, I don't know, a night photo and you're trying to get the city shot and you're like, why is it like that? Well, literally all I did was I got my thumb and I went like this, and you would be surprised. Like this is exactly what I did to get these types of photos. Anyways, I have this Duotone preset pack that I have for free on, I can put a link in my Instagram. And so I have the Miami and then the Miami inverted. Here's the regular one and the inverted one. Now you can see that there's some noise going on here. So we'll choose that one and we'll see if we can get rid of that. Sometimes you won't be able to, but if you, see I have the contrast all the way down, just so I can kind of get that fadey type of look. But you can see that now that we did that, we can even bring this down. Now we still got that Miami look, but we kind of got rid of that noise. Now when you upload things to Instagram, for the most part, it's gonna degrade these photos anyways, you know. But I think the key is to maximize on these photos because these are great photos. These are completely postable. Like even stuff like this one here. It's kind of blown out and everything, and I think there was someone's hand, if you can see, like right there, but I kind of like that stuff because it's, I mean, you're right there, I'm in the front row, and so it's like people are going crazy, you know, and you can tell. And so this is where I would go and use like either the Duotone presets, or I would use my mono presets. Like this one looks great. Do here, and then I'll go into light, and I'll just adjust. Go through, like I said, and just mess with the sliders. Like, oh, that looks really awesome. Like it's bringing back that a little bit. Same thing here. It looks like if we bring those shadows down, then it'll get rid of that hand right there. Now, if you have the full version of Lightroom Mobile, then you can come in and select that hand out and everything like that, but didn't really need to do that. Now, the cool thing about this too is you can use these for Instagram stories. If you have a show that you want to promote or anything like that, or if there's anything that you're trying to promote, you can use these and then put your words on the top and the bottom. Now, there's some composition that needs to be talked about in those stories as well. It's really key to make it look pleasing, because if you just put some words up there, then it's gonna look like any other story, you know. It's just like, oh, okay, this guy didn't really, and to your average person is like, oh, cool. But if you have that extra thing that makes your stories pleasing to the eye, people are gonna be like, ooh, they have some nice stories, but they're not gonna be sure why. But that's what it is. It's all about your composition on everything, including songs. So I have a few more here. This one's tight. So we go to presets, and I'll see which ones look good. That one, Death Brand, looks really good on everything. So just fair warning. It's a good. The duotones are good fail safe. Like this one, mnemonic. The biggest thing with these duotones is literally what I did is I found my favorite color combinations. I just made them into a preset, so I didn't have to like try and recreate them every time. Like this one I called Goblin just because it's got some yellows and greens in there. And these, the cool thing about these too is they'll work for all kinds of different photos, not just your concert photos, you know. So if like you take a nice city photo or something like that, then you can use some of these presets to, I always start out with a preset on everything and then adjust, because with the presets, it gets me there faster. I do the same thing with mixing, because it's like, why start from default when someone else already took the time to get you halfway there? Then you can adjust to get it exactly where you want it in less time, you know? And so, like this one here, so we'll go through with this one as well. I think the fader really looks cool on this one. Like if we look before, after. Fader green, very green. Fader red, very red, but it actually works in this case. I like the way that it looks on the roof right there. Like, add some detail, and we can bring that detail up too. If we go over to, I think they just added a new feature, effects, and you bump up the texture, you can see that it brings up the detail of that roof a little bit more. And like I said, these are phone photos, and so as you bump up these presets and really start to bring these sliders up, you're gonna notice that it's a cell phone photo. And so I would say be gentle. A little goes a long way with these cell phone photos. Again, don't be afraid to see what it does, you know, like literally come in here and see what too much contrast and not enough contrast does, because then you can find kind of like a middle ground. Like that looks nice. Highlights, like, oh, okay, that looks pretty good there. Before, after. Shadows, same thing. We can bring out his shirt a little bit, but then we're going to be introducing noise, like I said. So think about that. Noise is like the little grain. Like if we bump this up, you can really start to see the noise in his fretboard and stuff. And so if we bring that down, it's not as noticeable. But again, this is just content that you can use for anything. Like, don't be afraid because it's not a beautiful, amazing photo from Randy Edwards, you know? We all don't get that luxury. I love you, Randy. But this one here, this one is really cool because it looks like it's just all red. I experimented and put a fader preset on here, and it looks awesome. It looks so awesome. Now there may be a little bit too much blue in here, and then this is where we can go into the curves. So if you go to light, curves, this is where a lot of the magic happens. And don't be afraid of the curves. Don't be afraid. It's the same thing as a slider. You're just going to go up and down and see, you know, minimum and maximum. Now my only piece of advice is start with 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. These ones were already here. Now if you come down here, these are your shadows and these are your highlights. So just think that shadows, highlights. And that's all you really need to know, because if you put these 3 dots, you're gonna be able to tell, like, oh, okay, that's doing something to my lights, you know, highlights. And so since it has a lot of blue, you can see how this bottom corner one here, this left corner one, is up really high. This is actually how you achieve that fade effect. So if I bring that down, since I have the fade going on a different channel, my RGB channel, which is like technically gray they call it, you can see that it's got that fade. So before, after. That's way more pleasing. I would post that one for sure, for sure. Before, after. So I guess that's it for now. I kind of wanted to try something different because I know that I do a lot of music tutorials and stuff like that, but that's not all there is to this in this day and age, especially with social media and stuff. You have to find a way to stand out. And the way that I found to stand out is to have catchy and pleasing looking content. The way that I did that was just, I obsessed over it. I did a lot of tutorials and followed a lot of people and just kind of did my own trial and error. The cool thing about doing concert photography is that you learn a ton about really low light photography. But as you're coloring these things and getting better at coloring, when you receive photos like I did from my sister, you don't see them as like, oh, those are okay. You see it as like, what is it gonna look like edited? And if you go to my Instagram, if this is probably why you're here anyways, then you'll see that a lot of my photos that I posted recently are cell phone photos from my sister. I know she hangs out with some photographers, and so she's kind of got that composition down. But I've got photos from people who I didn't think thought about that stuff, and I was just blown away by their photos, you know, when I threw some color on there and everything, like it was. But if you have any questions, I want to kind of do this on a regular basis. I want to do music stuff still and stuff like that, but like I said, that's not the only thing that you need to worry about these days. And so I want to put out some videos about content creation, like how to film playthroughs and just stuff like that. But if you have any questions or anything that you are wanting to learn when it comes to content creation, just hit me up. Some of you may know and have hit me up before, and I'm an open book. Like, for reals, I know what it feels like to not know some of these things, and we shouldn't be there. I want to give all my information out to you because something that I've learned recently was suffering is not knowing. And also, we don't know what we don't know. And so, like I said, hit me up, and I would love to talk to you. Have a great day.